welcome to my channel Plant-Based Storm. I'm Stormy and today it's garden tour week 4. So if you haven't noticed, everything is looking quite jungle-like in our garden. It is growing like crazy. We are getting tons and tons and tons of rain. I don't know if y'all are experiencing that as well. We're here in Southeast Texas in zone 9A and it has just been raining for days. We had one day where the rain gauge was at 5 inches and overflowing. Just crazy tremendous amounts of rain, and we actually had 2 tomato plants that got damped off and we had to pull them out of the garden, and we're gonna have to put something else in their place because they just could not get in enough water after the roots took on so much water. But everything else is doing pretty good. We already had some other tomato plants to put in their place, so I think that's what we'll do. Our peppers have really started growing a whole lot more, just like everything else, because the temperature has finally picked up a little bit, but it's still really mild for this time of year. So this is going to be a pretty quick tour because like everything has changed a good bit within a week, but we still just have, of course, the same plants here. So we have been able to harvest some of our tomatoes, and we have been keeping count of how many pounds of produce that we get out of the garden, and right off the top of my head I think we've gotten about 35 pounds of tomatoes total, and I know for the cowhorn peppers we were able to get 2 whole pounds of cowhorns, and I'm not 100% sure about the others, but we just think that's something fun to do to see how much food that it's providing us. And we've been able to give some tomatoes away. We've already put up how many jars? 9 jars of pepper sauce, and we've done assorted peppers. We're planning on doing some sweet pepper, sort of like pepperoncinis with some of our sweet peppers. We don't have banana peppers this year. We have harvested some okra, and it's really growing. It's still growing, you know, a little bit slower than normal. Got a ton of blooms. Alright, so we told you about the tomato plants because this is sort of like a good, bad, and ugly garden tour. We want to like show you the realistic things that happen. He just pulled this off of my beloved brandywine, and I'm thinking that this is blossom end rot, so I'm not sure if that's what it is or what, but we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. None of the other tomatoes on the plant have done that, and we might need to add some Tums or something to the soil and see if that helps. But yeah, it's a bummer whenever you find something like this. I don't think we've showed the cayenne peppers very much, but it's just loading up. Our peppers are doing so good, and I don't know if y'all know this, but peppers and peas, they're 2 things, like if you continue to pick them, they're going to continue to give. The more you pick, the more they give. So whenever you see peppers, just go ahead and start picking them whenever you feel like they're ready, and if you, like I said, keep picking them, and you're going to be rewarded with more peppers. Let's see. So this was actually another tomato plant. This is Aroma. We got some little baby blooms. We had to replace another tomato plant because it did the same thing that the ones I just talked about did, because it was waterlogged. It had too much water. So this one seems to be doing pretty good. I don't know if it's just going to be a hard year for tomatoes or what. This is my marigold. I just wanted to show how pretty it's looking. It's just a bright, sunny spot in my garden that I love to look out and see some pretty bright flowers. We haven't showed the red Freddy basil in quite a while. It's doing pretty good. This also seems to be growing a little bit slow, which is surprising because I would think that it would be like in the milder weather. But anyway. Alright. Here are our few little yard-long beans that we have. They're trying to make it up to the trellis. These pink-eyed purple whole peas have just bushed out and they are going crazy. We do have something eating them, but it's been raining so much that we haven't been able to spray our BT or neem oil on it. Basically, it's a bacteria that inhibits like caterpillars and things of that nature from receiving any nutrition once they start eating the leaves, and it is considered organic. The Kajari melons are coming up good. We ended up having to stake them up. The garden really got beat down again. And then of course over here, this is where we took the 2 tomato plants up. So we'll put something else in its place. Rattlesnake beans, they're coming up, trying to get up to the trellis too. And then our pretty little center cut squash is doing really well. They are just all over. Something neat that I did was I went to the bottom and all the leaves that looked kind of yucky, like they had holes in them, I went around and I pruned these really well, trying to keep most of what I can off the ground. And this is really going to help keep your squash going for longer. The hotter it gets, the more that you can prune it and keep bad leaves off. And I noticed with all of the rain that we had, my butternut squash started getting some powdery mildew, and I just cut those leaves off and get rid of them as soon as I noticed that happening. We live in the humid south, like I said, zone 9A, so that's just going to be part of our gardening experience here. And our butternut squash is doing really good, so we're excited about that. Like I've said before, this is our first time, and there's several on here, and this thing just keeps going and going. It's amazing. So that's really all that I have this week for the garden tour, and I hope that you enjoyed this installment, and I will see you next week.